Hello everybody, today we're going to take a look at Monolith. What is Monolith? Monolith is a top-down 2D sort of shmup with various rogue-lite elements involved, and with a pretty striking visual style going on. You start out in this sort of hub area that you go back to every time you lose, and it has this adorable cat thing in it. You can talk to the cat thing, and it'll actually tell you about whatever killed you last time, which is actually a nice little touch. That was neat and nice, I think, combined. And that's what advice is. But of course, since I just started the game again, that is just telling me some random things. And you've also got this shop here, so I should probably talk about this. So this is your in-between match progression that a lot of roguelite style games have, where you earn something to spend in between your matches, and you can actually unlock more things to get in your actual runs. And in this case, you get this sort of salvagey stuff, and you can spend it to unlock a couple of things. And I've unlocked some extra things here and there, just a few, because I'm actually trying to save up for the sword, because it's a sword, and I want it. But it's expensive. It's probably going to take me another run or two to actually get a hold of that thing. And there are more things to actually get than this, I believe, but you have to get farther into the game to actually unlock the ability to buy them. And, well, I guess I'll have to show you why that is a bit tricky. There's also this guy that shows up sometimes. I'm not sure why. And this table and some decoration. Occasionally there'll be some furnishings that appear for reasons. This place just gets decked out over time. So let's go into the actual dungeon. The gameplay is kind of as you would expect for a top-down 2D shmup, and in that it gets progressively more and more difficult as you go, with quite a variety of enemies to actually shoot, lots of things to dodge, and a pretty good variety of weapons. You start out with just a basic infinite ammo sort of, I guess you could call it just blaster kind of thing. It's nothing special, but it does the job. And you also have a dash, which is very useful. It does not give you any kind of invulnerability frames, which is something that needs to be considered. However, you can get an upgrade to it that allows you to blink instead, which does technically give you invulnerability frames because you're not in the location between where you blink and where you end the blink, so yeah. You'll also find various special rooms, like this shop, which of course I just started, so I don't have the money to buy anything from. Oh no! And the other room over here is an interesting little one I'll have to show you. This is a concept where, ow, you have to pay attention, there are various mini-bosses. That thing is adorable. And you actually have to fight the mini-bosses to unlock the ability to fight the boss. I'm doing terribly this time. Usually I can at least get through the first floor without taking any damage. There we go. As you saw, set up there, the Nimbus is broken, and what that's actually telling you is you can fight the boss of the floor, which is over there. But of course, in the style of most of these games, if you are confident enough in your survival ability, you want to go through as much of the floor as you can to get a lot of money and weapons and things like that. Now, the weapon system in this game is one of its highlights. It is actually really neat. You can only carry one weapon at a time, and you'll always default back to your infinite ammo little blaster sort of pea shooter deal here. But there are several others. Aha! There's also this, which looks horrifying, but is actually very useful. It's sort of like a perk selection thing, and there's one on every floor, and it allows you to choose from one of 3 different sort of passive things. In this case, the scanner is useful. It will provide a sort of partial map of the floor, and also enemies will have health bars, as you can see, which isn't so great on the smaller ones there, but is, oh god, actually very useful on larger, heavier enemies and mini-bosses and things like that. And of course, big bosses always have health bars because they're bosses. The interesting thing about the weapon system in this game is how, although there aren't a tremendous number of individual weapons, you never just see a weapon. every weapon also has a keyword attached to it, or usually multiple keywords, and that modifies the way that they act. So for instance, there's one weapon that is a revolver. And as you would expect, a revolver tends to be, it's basically a fairly powerful weapon. Ah, that was dumb. I often forget that does not give you invulnerability frames when you dash. Fairly powerful weapon that shoots large projectiles a bit slowly that has to be reloaded after every 6 shots. Very strong. I don't have the key for that vault. It's in the shop up there. But you never just see the revolver. You see the revolver with a couple of modifiers attached to it that make it act differently every time you get it. And it's actually time to show you that. So on every floor there will be one of these. I tend to try and get it as late as I can because every weapon besides this little guy here has limited ammunition. And I'd like to get to the boss with as much ammo as possible to not spend it on the floor killing normal enemies. So as you can see here, both of these weapons have 2 different keywords attached to them that will alter their functionality. This Vulcan will split and also does extra damage against ghosts. This Fireball freezes enemies inexplicably and does extra damage against ghosts. So I'm actually going to go with the splitting Vulcan because that seems like fun. Now, also you can teleport, which is nice, so boop, nice and easy. Just the second you click, you are in that room. Now, I've got the vault right here, the vault key, and I think I'd like to spend all my money to get it. I'd ideally like to heal myself, but there is no healing item in here. So, I'm going to go ahead and grab this, go over here to the vault door, and hope there's something worthwhile inside. It is a damage increase. So, let's go over here, go up here, and head inside. Now, this is the... Oh, wait, no. We actually have another room to go towards. Oh, God, that's actually a little... Ugh. Come on. Okay, there we go. Alright, that wasn't too bad. Now, here's the boss. One of the highlights of this game is its boss design. All the bosses have a really, really interesting visual design and some really cool patterns and things to learn. As you would expect, the higher up you go, the bosses tend to verge into like bullet hell territory, although the first few don't necessarily. And in games like this, the bosses tend to, you know, you have a random selection of bosses that you can encounter on any given floor. So, you just break this seal thing here. This time it's the Guardian, who is a sort of knight character with a hammer, and I'm failing miserably already. And you also have some bombs, which I should point out. I'm gonna use one right now. Wait, I tried to use one. Why isn't it? I couldn't use a bomb. Did I unbind my bomb key? That was strange. I must have, Did I change my bomb binding and not notice? That was horrible. I don't think I've ever died on the first floor before. Oh well, we'll have to try that again. One moment, what's my bomb binding? Left shift? I thought it was left why did okay, you know what? That's fine. I don't remember it being left shift. I thought I changed it. Okay. That doesn't matter. We'll go with it. Oh god. Sure. And it'll tell me about the Guardian now that I just got murdered by it. Uh-huh. And you'll also see that I have a little extra of this stuff to spend, although not much, because I think I spent most of it in that run. I didn't end the run with very much extra. So that sword is going to have to wait one more try. Now, I think the things I actually enjoy most about this would have to be the visual style. The overall... The soundtrack is great, first off. The just general atmosphere, the visual style, and the art style, the atmosphere that the game gives off, it looks and feels like something that would be on Gameboy Advance. And I actually say that lovingly. The whole style of it is very much like, oh my god, it reminds me of Metroid Fusion, actually. And that is a good, I mean, if you can have your game compared to Metroid Fusion, that is a good thing to have it compared to, because that game is awesome. So yeah, like I said, this game is just very much reminds me of Metroid Fusion, of Game Boy Advance games. That is a loving comparison to make, and that's actually, I don't, when people think of like retro pixel art, that style, they tend to think of either the NES or the Super Nintendo, depending on if it's like 8 or 16-bit style, or of like the Sega Genesis if it's going for that kind of style, because some games actually try to do that instead. But in this case, I really do feel that it feels like a GBA game. And that's different, because I've never really seen a lot of games that deliberately try for that. That's cool. And I think it pulls it off really well. The just sound design in general, as well as the overall aesthetic, evokes that feel pretty well. Now I'm going to choose this, because this is amazing, and you definitely have to see this. So Artifact will give you a choice between one of 4 weapons, each of which has 4 of these keywords on it. So the weapons you tend to find most of the time will have 2 keywords. You can occasionally find one with 3. However, sometimes, if you're very lucky, you can get one with 4 on it, which will very much change the way that the weapon itself is going to, oh my god, yes, is going to act. And in this case, I've just got something absurdly powerful, and it should clear entire rooms if you're given enough space. Oh yeah. Yes. Although it doesn't have very much in the way of ammo. 2 max HP to restore 3 total HP, that would kind of be a waste of health 3 right now. So overall, this is actually a pretty unique little specimen, because I don't know many games that try to ape the like Game Boy Advance style and have this very Metroid Fusion-esque atmosphere, and especially that actually tend to pull it off this well. And like I said, the boss design is really good in this game. There's a boss, I think it's one of the possible 3rd floor bosses, that's a giant worm thing that takes up the entire left side of the screen. And it just throws out these weird, I don't know what they are, like tonsils or something at you that you have to fight. And during that process, it's like those are the things that you actually have to destroy to get its health gauge down, because you can't actually hit the worm itself. Once you give it like a terrible case of, I don't know, like adenoiditis, and then its health gauge empties, you think you've won, and then it just eats you, and the rest of the boss fight is you traveling through the inside of the worm, actually facing its, I don't know, like a heart or something, kind of. And then you're trying to kind of snake through, not touch the walls of the inside of the worm, as this thing is like sending projectiles towards you the whole time. It's really a really cool boss fight, and I didn't expect that to happen at all. And they just get more and more ridiculous as you go. I'm gonna save that for maybe if I'm out of ammo after the boss. So yeah, the boss design is definitely a highlight of the game. And they do get really hard. I've managed to get to, the farthest I've ever gotten is the 4th floor bosses. I've managed to get to the boss of the 4th floor 3 times. And it's been a different one twice, I think, and I've never actually won that particular fight. It is very challenging. It's just screenfuls of shots and lasers, and it's not easy. But it is fun, which I guess is the main point. It's fun to learn, and I guess for a game like this, you want to make sure that the game has that... I have enough ammo left, I think. I'll go to the next floor. Does the game have that one more run feel? And in this case, it absolutely does. Every floor has its own theme, its own set of enemies that tend to, you know, like, inhabit it. And also its own, well, its own literal theme, as in its own soundtrack. And like I said, the soundtrack for the game is great. Oh god. The selection of bosses are fantastic. The weapon system is actually quite interesting. However, if there was one gripe I did have with the game, it's some of the feedback that the game gives the player, or rather, doesn't give the player. you notice these bombs up here? You notice how some of them look different? There are these, which are like the default two you start with. There's this red one, and there's this like partial red and black one here. I've seen like white ones and blue ones as well. The game doesn't really explain the difference between them. The enemy design is cool too. And there's no way to tell which bomb is which that you're holding. For instance, if you hover over them, it doesn't say anything. If you like go to this, you get some information, like that I'm holding a laser, but I can't hover over these to tell what they are, or over the bombs to tell which one is which. You know, none of this is really explained to me what they are. So I once went to actually twice, I went to a little thing that gave me a bunch of bombs. I didn't have any extra types of bombs unlocked, so none of them, you know, like, I figured maybe the blue ones would be the freeze bombs, but I hadn't unlocked the freeze bombs yet, so that couldn't have been it. They weren't. Some of them just, like, shot a giant laser in front of me, which was really cool, but the point is I didn't really know what they all were. And the game doesn't really tell you what they are. There's also the idea that, you saw that thing earlier that said Consecrated, does extra damage to ghosts. That's one of the things that you have to unlock. And it says, when you unlock it, it says it does extra damage to undead. However, when you actually use it, it says does extra damage to ghosts, which is a bit strange. And there's also two others. There's one that says it does extra damage to mechanical enemies and does extra damage to constructs. I don't know what the difference between mechanical enemies and constructs is. I genuinely don't know. But it's like I don't know. I don't know what the difference actually is. It's more of a I guess it's more of a thing that you'd have to play quite a bit to learn, you know, because there's no bestiary or anything like that. The enemies, it's not explained what enemies are which. So yeah, most of the time the game gives you plenty of information to actually arm yourself with what you need. However, occasionally I don't really know... I don't really know exactly what I'm armed with. But like I said, most of the time that's not a problem. So anyway, that is Monolith. It is a pretty fantastic game, and I just demonstrated it absolutely horribly, because I'm usually able to get to the 4th floor, but in this case, not quite. Anyway, if you want to check it out, it is available on Steam right now, and you can go to the description below the video to find a link to that page. You can also check out... Does it have a demo? Actually, maybe it doesn't have a demo. I'm not sure. I think it has a demo. Either way, you can check out the website as well for some more information, and it is available for $8. Not a lot of money to try this out. Something from a bit of a different school of retro thought that I think it pulls off very well. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.